So last week, Gemini 1.5 Pro had an update, and I'm gonna test how good it is. A lot of YouTubers out there are just testing it very simply or doing very dummy examples like making video games, and that's not very useful representation of how good it is. So I'm gonna, as a person who makes a lot of AI products for clients, I'm gonna show what's a reasonable test case of its capabilities, and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start. So we're going to use Gemini 1.5 Pro here, experimental. Okay, so first one, I want to see how good it's at translating 5 different languages. And this is very weird. Okay, let's try it again. So looking at these translations, they look like they're correct. So it looks like its translation ability is pretty good. Let's go next one. So I want to see its capability of how good it is with how good is it with solving a hard problem. So there's a problem called end queen problem in COBOL, and I want to create a wrapper in C++ interface with the COBOL code. So the idea is I want to see if we can do 2 different programming languages, do a very old language, and do a hard problem. So let's run it. Okay, so this looks like the standard code. So I've seen this before on the LLMs. And it looks like it can do this properly. So it looks like it can do this well. Okay, let's go to the next one. So that's the next one here. So basically I want a 1-word answer back. So let's see if we can do that. Good. Okay, so we can do 1-word answers. Okay, next one is the reasoning. So basically, there are 3 very complex topics here: common sense reasoning, game theory, and epigenetics. I wanted to explain each one and then explain the differences between each one. So I want to see its ability to explain and its ability to compare. So it gave a definition of common sense reasoning, it gave a definition of game theory, and it gave an explanation of epigenetics. So when we did this test with the RLMs, I think they didn't really give like a breakdown like this. So it looks like Google's one might be better at giving the breakdown, like broken by focus, methodology, key concepts, examples. So that's a surprise. I didn't expect that. Like I think it's better at doing this. Now let's do the next one. So here, basically, I have a sales transcript between Bob and Christina, and basically, I want to basically pull out what all the requirements that they discussed on the call. So it looks like it did it properly, so that's good, and it's not too worried about it. So it looks like it can do that pretty well. Now the next one is called role playing. So basically, I wanted to pretend to be a 5-year-old boy, and then he just got yelled at by his teacher, and then now write me an email to my CEO where a client ran away and we're missing payments. So basically, I wanted him to role play this scenario. So this is very interesting. So like when I ran this test on GPT 4.0 and Mistral, they completely they missed the mark, right? So and Claude just says, "Oh, I refuse to do it." So the only one that was really good at this was Llama 3.1. But looking at this, I feel like Gemini might be even better than 3.1 at doing this. Like it's using like symbols. The words are interesting. So it looks like so far Gemini is pretty good so far. Now let's go to the next one. So this one is the logic one. So the idea is that there is 4 levels of logic here. So we have like tier 1 pricing, tier 2, tier 4, and then we have for additional features is this much, and then for discount and promotions is this much. Calculate the expected annual revenue of tier 1, calculate the expected annual revenue of tier 2. So it gave how much revenue for each one, next steps. This is very bizarre. So like I said, when I did this last time with GPT 4.0, it gave me a number around 8,000, and then this one was like 7,000. So yeah, it looks like they have a different interpretation of multi-layer logic. So I don't know how good it is at doing multi-level logic. Okay, so this is the next one. So a lot like Gemini is advertised as being amazing for having a huge context window. So I'm gonna put this to the test. So here I have a 32,000 context window text, and I hit a password in the middle. So I want it to find me the password. So it looks like it can actually handle the context window well. So I had smaller tests, so like have it for 16,000, and I have 8,000. But if it can do the big one, I don't need to test the other smaller ones. Okay. Now let's test its ability to write. So I want me to write me a haiku poem where it uses the first letter of each season in the poem. So it looks like I can do that properly. And this is another very complex scenario. So basically, there is a game called Tower of Hanoi. It's a very complex logic problem. So I want them to write me a finite state machine to encapsulate the logic of this in Node.js. So let's see how it does it. So it's using a class, it made the transitions, and then move this is valid. Yeah, so it looks like it did the code properly for this. And then let's go for the simplest example here. Write a Python script from 1 to 10. And it looks like I got that correctly. So by doing this whole test, I'm actually surprised of the results. Gemini in the past has been terrible, but it looks like this version is basically on par with Llama 3.1b and like GPT 4.0. So I think this model is good to use. Now it really comes down to pricing, basically.